Hello, Antifa. It's me, Ghazi, the Commander-in-Chief of the Black Hero Organization. Land back. Land back. Land back. Land back. I heard you had some not so nice things to say about me. I heard you had so nice things to say about my hammers. I heard you had not so nice things to do to one of my members. One of my dear, dear members.
I didn't have a choice but to trust the vaccine. If you live the type of lifestyle that I live, you out here in these streets and you hustling, an entrepreneur like me, why not do it safely? So I want everybody to take this seriously. Take a shot at staying healthy. Get the vaccine.
Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Patrick Lyoya. From the time we come to this country, the United States of America, which we call home, we've been begging you just to let us live. We've been asking you to let us breathe.
Black Lives Matter under more scrutiny over how it's spending donors' money, as a new report claims Black Lives Matter leaders used $6 million in donations to buy a massive, beautiful California mansion. Fox News contributor and civil rights attorney Leo Terrell joins us right now from Los Angeles. Leo, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing okay, but I'm scratching my head. You know, after the summer of 2020, we'd heard that Black Lives Matter took in, I think, $90 million, and we wondered what they were going to spend the money on. Now we know they spent $6 million on a mansion for themselves.
Yes, Steve, living like the rich and famous. You know, Steve, I'll be very honest with you. $90 million. They basically use black Americans for profit. Steve, ever since the George Floyd death, Black Lives Matter has profited from the George Floyd death. What have they done for the black community? Where are the community centers? Where is the improvement in education? They use this money for personal gain, and you look at that house does not help black Americans. It is basically blood money, Steve, and it's sickening and it's embarrassing. Black people were exploited. Black Americans were exploited by Black Lives Matter for the personal gain of a few.
This enchanted love of ours.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
This enchanted love of ours. This enchanted love of ours.
You know what? Global family, look in the mirror. I want you to take a good look. You are the champion, the hero of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Tony, again, I give you accolades for, I don't even know what to say, for all the efforts, man, that you put in my behalf.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
So what you see here on the screen here is the United Nations Decade for Black People, okay? Or for people of color, of African descent, okay? Which includes most people of color, okay? You're literally seeing a world plan for exactly what is taking place. So literally the United Nations, which has 192 or so countries all agreeing to it, they all came together to say from 2015 to 2024 is going to be the time for people of African descent. And coincidentally, if you go back to around 2015, that's when you started to see people start to come out and promote Blackness heavy. Even though there have been supposed Black movements all stuff beforehand, everything else, we know this, okay? But still, in the collective consciousness, that's when you start to see it, okay? And then around, it's going to end at about 2024. And then from that point, the hammer is about to come back. Okay? Quit playing. Right now, even though in the superhuman classes, what I was talking about was a divine energy, okay? I wasn't talking about this because we were talking about that over 6 years ago. And I didn't know about this 6 years ago. Okay. So I was talking about more divine energy. And just coincidentally, it aligns with this a little bit. Okay. And it dealt with, again, it dealt with women. It dealt with you all taking the front stage and really pushing yourself. But that time is about to kind of go off to the wayside, which coincidentally is around the time of this 2024. Okay. It doesn't mean that people are going to be dead and in the dumpster. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that there's a high points and low points to energy. Okay. Even just think about yourself, right? There's times of the day at times where you feel so full of energy that you could jump to the moon. But there's other times where you feel kind of lethargic. You just kind of like want to just, I just want to go sit down somewhere and just relax. You know what I'm saying? That's how also spiritual energy works. It's the same way. It waxes and wanes like how the moon does, or how the moon waxes and wanes. How it affects the tides, right? Low tide and high tide. High tide, comes in and comes out, right? Goes low and high based on, again, the waxing and waning of the moon. It's exactly the same thing when it deals with these spiritual energies, okay? It waxes and wanes, okay? And so I was just personally feeling the waxing and waning when it specifically deals with a certain aspect of people. And in this case, it was the feminine energy. Okay, who embraces the feminine energy is women. Okay, so that was that. But no coincidence that, again, 2015 to 24 is the time of Black people, right? So now you see all these supposed people standing up, talking about they're so pro this and pro Black this and all this other stuff, all in front of the cameras, all doing it. They're most definitely agents, 100% agents. Okay, majority of them. Okay, all doing all this stuff and nothing's happening to them, right? That is literally all by design. It is literally a world agenda. Literally. Okay. So the OHCHR and the International Decade for People of African Descent, 2015 and 2024. The decade is a unique platform that emphasizes the important contribution made by people of African descent to every society and promotes concrete measures to stop discrimination and promote their full inclusion. I mean, this is the same language they're using. Think about all around us right now, right? This is happening all across the world, you all. But all around us right now, we talk about how inclusive spaces and all this other things. I'm talking like them, right? Because that's how I imagine the person who wrote this speaks. Okay, so you all seeing this? Do you see how direct this is? And so all this stuff that people are saying, they're trying to act all woke, trying to act all arrogant and all this stuff. The only reason why they're even in the position to do what they do because it was approved. Literally, it was a letter written. It was a person who signed it. It was stamped with the okay of the agenda, and it gave them the okay to do what they're doing.
it's just not him, brother. Also, Hollywood has a history of feminizing black males.
True.
And
True.
any black actors of any stature have been requested and required to feminize themselves or take on a feminine role or acting, whatever, how cute or how comical it might look. And then when a party does not do that, then they're either ostracized or they're downplayed in certain kind of ways. And even like Wesley Snipes, I mean, Will Smith, you can just look historically and see that all of them have been made to feminize and or lose stature or contracts to perform their duties. So they just go along with the program.
So there's a sci-fi novel called The Forever War. Okay, and this was written in 1970s. Okay, where it was released in. And so in The Forever War, it's a pretty good sci-fi read. But in here, there's a part where, so the Forever War, he's pretty much a military officer. He's going off, or a military soldier, and he goes off to these distant worlds or distant galaxies, and he's fighting and stuff, right? But as they're traveling through, let's say, wormholes and stuff, it may only seem like an hour for them, but it actually, let's say, 5 or 10 years have passed on Earth. Okay. And so eventually, after fighting so many battles and everything else, he's able to go to Earth, kind of say, for a period of time. And he goes back to Earth, it's like, I think 100, 150 years later, okay, at this point. Okay. But for him, it's only been a few years. And so when he's come here, pretty much everyone is homosexual. And so what it said is here, so he ends up, so unless we just look part. So eventually, so he's talking, this person is talking to the soldier guy, the main character. Eventually, you're going to have to get a job, and this one job for which you are uniquely trained. There are not that many jobs available. The population of Earth is nearly 9 billion, with 5 or 6 billion unemployed. Okay. So of course, they were in many books and everything else, they were hinting to this overpopulation agenda, but not just that, but the coming famine as well. Okay. They said, also keep in mind that your friends and sweethearts of 2 years ago are now going to be 21 years older than you. Many of your relatives will have passed away. I think you will find a very lonely world. But to tell you something about this world, I'm going to turn you over to Captain Siri. You just arrived from Earth, Captain? Thank you, General. It looked as if there was something wrong with his skin, his face. Then I realized he was wearing powder and lipstick. His nails were smooth, white almonds. Okay, so he's noticing that he has a feminine air to him. Okay, this general. And so I don't know where to begin. He sucked in his upper lip and looked at us frowning. So again, these emotional antics that typically, in mannerisms that typically you'll find from either a woman or a very gay man. Okay. So things have changed so very much since I was a boy. I'm 23, so I was still in diapers when you people left for ALF. To begin with, how many of you are homosexual? Nobody? Well, that doesn't really surprise me. I am, of course, I guess about a third of everybody in Europe and America is. Okay, I guess about a third of everybody in Europe and America is. Most governments encourage homosexuality. The United Nations is neutral, leaves it up to the individual countries. They encourage homo life mainly because it's the one sure method of birth control. So I'll read a little bit more here. That seemed suspicious to me. Our method of birth control in the Army is pretty foolproof. All men making a deposit in the sperm bank and then vasectomy. As the general said, the population of the world is 9 billion. It's more than doubled since you were drafted. And nearly 2/3 of those people get out of school only to go on relief, meaning income. Okay. What are they talking about now? A lot of times they're talking about
stimulus.
Not stimulus, but pretty much like
universal basic
income. Basic income.
Yep. Universal basic income.
Welfare. Yeah.
Yep. That's what they're talking about here. Okay. This is a book again from the 1970s. Remember, you'd be surprised. See, a lot of times you have to understand is that, let's just say truth tellers and stuff like that. Many of you know how I speak and everything else. How I speak is a rarity. And the reason why people like me come about to speak the way we do is because it's like the last inning. It's either it's time to wake up or not. And you're going to be gone. Your spirit is going to be, or your essence is going to be controlled and gone forever. So I don't take pride in, so again, I don't take pride in kind of shocking people's system by just telling what the truth is, and that's just that. But again, that's what happens. Up until now, people had the baby talk, the baby talk, the baby talk, the baby talk, and people are just not in mass really. Again, it's not about taking on entities or anything like that. It's about treating yourself with respect. That's it. People are not even treating themselves with respect. I'm not talking about nothing outside of a person at all. Many of you know, majority of the classes and everything else deal with self-examination. It deals with examining yourself even through other people's actions and stuff like that. But it deals mainly with the self, okay? Self-responsibility and stuff like that. So that's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about taking on draconians. I'm not talking about fighting some alien race somewhere, right? I'm just talking about, are you able to be you?
Different feathers, and without bringing up the strong emotional issues with people. And these people, I mean, the young people that are listening right now, probably don't remember Richard Pryor as such, but if they saw his movies, he's a very funny guy, and he was from my hometown and had family connections and so I knew the person, and actually had direct conversation with the man a couple of times. But anyway, make a long story short, if you looked at his movies, they were comedic in nature, but they were very serious life circumstances, situations. They just have to be funny, and so, as you mentioned, when people communicate, or those that use that way of communication, they do that in a safe arena, a safer arena than just speaking something directly. As Oscar Wilde said, in other words, you speak clearly and directly to people, they'll kill you. And the best way to lose your friends and your family is to discuss the topic we're talking about right now to those who don't have the ears to hear them. The only way they'll ever hear them will be in some kind of comic skit or kind of poetry they might be listening to. But if you were to talk directly to them or share information with them that as being a fact, that would dilute your relationship with them, and a lot of them will back away from you. And that's friends and family, So, and I know that personally for a fact. But I just wanted to share that. And as you mentioned, real talk. When you get emphatic about something, you say that's real talk, and that's what you do. You give us real talk, and that's what we need. Like I mentioned before, that Dr. Blair, when his era, he was there to share information and to prepare a certain platform for yourself and those like you to be able to take people to another level, because he may be in the listening phase. You go sit down and hear a lecture, and then you get to make decisions after you leave it, and you share it. But your generation and those that are listening to me are the generation of action. In other words, yes, you do create the scenarios where a person can listen and learn. But also, you're also emphatic about, you may listen and learn, but you also have to act. If you don't act, the information I provide to you, is diluted. So I thank you for what you're doing, and those who are listening to you, I appreciate it. I know they are. I am. I appreciate it, and I think the future in the future, those of you who grow and glow like you're doing and get stronger, and do what you're doing, you're going to be some very powerful leaders, whether it's in your own families or in your own communities or whatever arena you find yourself in. You're going to find yourself having the armor or having those protections to do what you got to do, what you signed on to do when you came on this planet. So you're here to do a certain work, and you're getting all the accoutrements to do that, and accoutrements are being added to you by the person that you're listening to, not me, but Tony, Dr. Blatt's work, and other information that comes to you through your so-called dreams or whatever, the teachings that show up. So when I use that Atlanta Dreamstorm myself, and when I use that, or I notice that certain teachings come through to me, and I'm a writer. You already know that, in poetry, and it's been coming through so hot and heavy when I get something in the morning when I first wake up, as normally when it comes through, it might start off as a sentence and wind up as an 11-page poem, which I wrote 2 or 3 days ago, and just started out as a sentence, an idea. And it's been I've been feeling like that. So I'm not trying to talk you dead. All I'm doing is saying the information that we're getting right now is training those ears that are listening to do what they came to do, and to be better at it, and be profound with it. Whether they ever hear my voice again or not, it don't make a difference. But those of you who, and I've met you, I met a lot of y'all, and you're wonderful people out there in my family. Sometimes when I feel down and stuff, I think about the experiences I had with y'all in the superhuman classes and whatever. This is just a joy, and that keeps a person like me inspiring me. See, so that means something. It does, because I'm at, my contract. I don't know how long my contract gonna go, but I know that it's not gonna be renewed. Okay, so I just want to share that with y'all.
You like, I'm good. Hey, you want to go back again? You like, I'm good on that, boss.
You're right. Right. No. I done my. I served my tour. Okay. Hey, Tony, can I read one of my poems for my sisters that's listening here?
Go ahead.
Okay. This is a poem I wrote in March this year. But anyway, it's called When My Daughters Rise. When my daughters rise, queens of every color and hue, stand strong to demand their due, perfect in every curve and hip, ready to grasp and break in their tormentor's whip. Gathering in parties, many and well known, bound by sisterhood, which sets the tone. Neither a scream nor a high-pitched voice, all gather silently to evoke their choice. Powerful and graceful, each queen stands forth to bring down the beast whom destroys the very least without remorse. Champions each one who assumes the throne, vowing together to bring the children home. Shoulder to shoulder, each queen takes her place to stand in the gap to rescue the whole human race. And come what may on this terrible dark day, each grips the shield of the other to hold evil at bay. Still fierce and wounded, and yes, some on one knee, while holding their blades that slew forth the mountains to the great sea, repelling all that come to conquer and slay on this glorious, glorious, glorious day. So come what will, and again, come what may, my daughters rise and come forth on this blessed Mother's Day.
We have an intense high-pressure system called a mass formation psychosis rolling in from centralized authorities. Now this is a hell of a storm that takes over your entire mind and programs you with a narrative to focus all your attention on a common enemy. And in doing so, it also programs you to oppose anything that runs counter to the narrative that's taken over your mind. Now this weather system can destroy lives and even be deadly, as it literally hypnotizes people with a noble lie. Throughout history, we've seen this same psychological storm hit Germany in the 1930s. They had otherwise good people who believed the noble lie that they were told repeatedly, turning in their neighbors. And now this system's rolled in and enveloped, well, the entire globe. Except for this little section of Antarctica. We at least still have free-thinking penguins. Now, with mass formation psychosis being such a catastrophic storm, is there any hope for the clouds to clear?
Stop sharing. That was the article, at least one article of many that are circulating on the internet about this very unfortunate incident. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. What do Black women need to take from this? What do the collective of Black women need to learn from this? Okay. First of all, this was a young, lone Caucasian male who entered a supermarket in a predominantly Black neighborhood and just began to open fire, killing 10 people and injuring at least 2 or 3 other people. The next thing we have to understand is that he felt comfortable coming into a Black neighborhood by himself to assault and to delete people. Okay. Now we got to look at why did he feel that way? Okay. Like most other Americans, he knows that the Black community is what? Mostly comprised of women. It's a bunch of women and children that comprise the Black community that Black women say is the community. Only Black women and Black children are considered to be part of the Black community, to the exclusion, the ostracizing, and the marginalization of Black men. You might want to see where I'm going with this. Now, the men, Black men, have been ostracized. They have been marginalized within our community to such an extent that they are not present in the numbers that they used to be present in, that used to deter stuff like this.
Jacqueline Teague says during this pandemic, her speech therapy clinic has seen an enormous shift in the ages of their patients. Before the pandemic, only 5% of patients were babies and toddlers. Today, it has soared to 20%. Many parents calling it COVID delayed.
We've seen a 364% increase in patient referrals of babies and toddlers from pediatricians and parents.
And they are children that are having a difficult time speaking.
Speech delayed.
Babies start learning how to speak by reading lips as young as 8 months. So what happens when lips and faces are covered up by masks? Well, therapists say for some kids, they can work around the mask and still learn to speak perfectly fine. But for others, it can cause speech delays.
There's no research out there yet to say that this could be causing speech and language delays, but most definitely it's, I'm sure, a factor. It's very important kids do see your face to learn, so they're watching your mouth.
That's orange. Can you say orange? Orange. That was a good try.
Brianna Gay is raising 5 children, but it's her youngest who needs therapy.
It definitely makes a difference when the world you're growing up in, you can't interact with people and their face. That's super important to babies. So
we're seeing a lot of things that look just like autism. They're not making any word attempts and not communicating at all with their family.